Okay, so my next video is going to be me jumping around in topics um, about random things. So let me start with this one and maybe it will naturally flow into the other ones. So I don't know, now I feel like I've already talked about this, but I was thinking about like how the knowledge of God is spiritual and like just how I was talking about in my Bible video that I just posted. Um, it's very subtle, when you're reading the Bible and you don't know what something means, and then you suddenly know what something means, you have to acknowledge that something happened between your gap of knowledge and that gap being filled in. That doesn't just happen. You don't just simultaneously, this isn't something that you remember. This is like a new thought that you never had about a new text that you've never seen. That is an indication of God. And so you have to learn to sort of see God in these subtle places um, and recognize where He is, because the knowledge of God is spiritual. And it doesn't seem like it is because you're using your mouth and your brain and you're just talking. But just like I was talking about how, God, Jesus would be, people would be asking Jesus, like, just tell us if you're the Son of God. And He'd be like, I did tell you, and you didn't hear me. It's like that information is spiritual. And that's like why it seems like the more you say something, the less people can hear things. It's because it's a good indication that that information is not um, just like the other information there is. There's something, it goes in here, I guess. And so to retain it, it's like there's some people that just simply don't hear it. That's also probably why, like when I was talking about that, I forgot to include, that passage where God says, or Jesus says, I keep calling him God, which is not bad, but where Jesus is saying, he asked the disciples, like, who do the people say that I am? And they say, some say you're Elijah, some say you're this, some say you're that. And he says, well, who do you say that I am? And, he asked Peter this. And Peter says, you're the Christ. And we're all, Christians reading that, and we're all like, yeah, Peter, good on you. We don't think that that's like, a newsflash of any sort, because we're all Christians. We all have the Spirit of God, and we take for granted, um, the spiritual things that happened to get us to where we are and to get us to see the information that we see. So you're reading the Bible and you see that, and then you see where Jesus is like, flesh and blood has not revealed this to you. Like it's such a, um, God, Jesus sometimes has like a lot of strange looking responses to things, or by the way he responds, you have to just be like, oh, that was a big deal, or oh, that was not, or whatever. I would say this or that. So he has this kind of over the top reaction to Peter just saying, you're the Christ, which is just like kind of the most obvious thing. But obviously, in that time, in that context, it wouldn't have been. And I mean, by that time, he'd done miracles, he'd done all of this stuff. But, he said, flesh and blood did not reveal this to you. Um, so that was, Jesus recognized in that moment that, like, for someone to say that, they had to be given that information. He knew the difference between revelation and facts. You know what I mean? And even that word revelation, getting things by revelation is like, we're so used to all of the knowledge that we acquire on this planet having been studied, having been, you do some type of work for it. And it's not that you don't work to get revelation, but um, the kind of work you do, it's very similar to like research, where because the Bible says, "Seek and you'll find, ask and you'll receive, knock and the door will be open." So the more that you engage, it's just like that whole thing of not quite leaving cookies out for Santa Claus. Okay, I was just trying to use a real world thing that people do all the time and they don't question it. Um, but it's like you're taking steps, you're seeking, you're asking, you're knocking, um, and then you get this revelation, and it's weird because it's like such a knowing. And sometimes you can like prove it, but like even when you do that and you're trying to like be like, see, no, look, this is how it is. Like people are still like, what are you talking about? Like, where are you getting this? And like that's which is kind of the right question to ask. It's like, where are you getting this? And a lot of times people will stop there. It's like because they don't have any sort of spiritual discernment. So they'll just kind of be like, well, where did it come from? Like they want to they want to feel the same sort of confidence that they feel when they hear something from this source or that news media outlet, or something credible, something with lots of following and history of whatever behind it and all this stuff. It's like that gives them security in the knowledge. And when you hear something from God, who purposely sort of is constantly doing this from the ground up, sort of self-made, starting from scratch thing in the earth. Whenever he comes down, it's like he starts with Abraham. He's like, "Listen, I'm going to make a nation out of you, just you. Do you believe me?" And Abraham's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Great, let's do this." And then it just kind of becomes this thing. He never tries to like come in this bombast and show himself as whatever. So, a person like that, you're constantly getting, where did you come from? Who is this like, who's vouching for you? That, I mean, it's true like in the natural, just like anybody who is independent has, is not going the mainstream course. It's like, it's such an uphill battle because you have to sort of gain your own credibility and sort of grind to earn that. And so that's how God does his stuff in the earth, at least in this particular at this particular time. But yeah, speaking of that, like it's kind of funny. So I think I talked a little bit about like where we were in terms of Rapture watching, but I think I was a little bit vague about it, and just as far as like, yeah, there's another watch time coming up, but it's been maybe, I don't know, like a week, 10 days or something since. Well, let's see, it had to have been like right after the 26th, and I'm talking about right after the 26th. And I made a video about that, Feast of Wine, Ninth of Av or whatever, and how that just seemed like that was going to be the day because it was so appropriate and all of this stuff. And really, just like, yeah, if this ain't the day, then I just don't. I mean, whatever. Well, Feast of Trumpets is coming up in September, and that has been, the darling of Rapture watch days even before anybody was really watching this year. Um, just because, for a number of reasons. Um, and, I don't want to get all technical, but once we sort of realized that uh, it's kind of like it's just been a concentration of knowledge. But like the reason why the rapture dates are always like people were spouting them off because it didn't really, no one could really see what the pattern was going to be. Like, so it didn't really seem like it was going to be a random day. Well, then it started to be like, well, let's look at the prophecies and see, what has to be fulfilled. So once Israel became a nation in 1948, or was it 48 or 49? I don't remember. That sort of started this clock. And so that's why you get certain rapture dates coming up, because they're just basing it on just that. Because, I don't know, just basically there's like 70 or 80 years between Israel becoming a nation. Like there's a prophecy about Israel returning to its land that is like was like a yeah right, when is that ever going to happen prophecy. And so when it happened, it was like, that was supposed to be a marker of things that, the next things to come or whatever. So since then, people have been predicting dates, but they've just been predicting random dates. Then I would say in the last like 10-ish years, um, people have been saying, hey, it can't be a random day. It's probably going to be one of these feast days, because when Jesus came, he fulfilled these feasts. There's 4 feasts in the spring and 3 in the fall. And so he fulfilled all of the 4 spring feasts. So he's got to be doing the fall feasts. So, and the Feast of Trumpets is the next one in line of the fall feast. So that has been the darling for a while, and just, the meanings and all of this stuff. Well, 7 years ago, I think, was it 2015? So 8 years ago, 2015. Um, oh yeah, and then as we got closer, then it was like Jubilee years, Shemitah years. It was like we're going back to the Old Testament way of all of these things that he had put as signs that he's deliberately said were going to be signs in the sky or whatnot, blood moons, all of this stuff, right? So it's like, so then it was like about, okay, well, there's gonna be 4 blood moons this month. That's crazy. That's wild. You know, it was all about like what kind of spectacular thing was going to be in the sky. It's like, okay, there's going to be 4 blood moons on a Shemitah year. Like, that's got to be, because we're thinking like he's not going to do something overt. He's done this, he's done like this whole spiel. We've been like bludgeoned over the head of like, no one knows the day or the hour. So the idea that he would do some like overt thing that was like, hello, like the main thing that I thought was like, all of these different signs in the sky and all this stuff. It was about like getting people's attention, getting people ready, and then, having them come around, these sort of things in the sky coming around for the first time in centuries and all this stuff. It's like he's trying to get our attention. So I'm thinking, okay, he's trying to get our attention, and we got to be watching, you know. So then this year comes around, and well, really, it started like a little bit last year, and then this year comes around, and I'm feeling it. It's like there's a collective feeling of like, I think it's like, after having gone through this period before, it was like, this feels just like that, except it's way like just the signs. And so you've got this, um, like first we had just the day, appointed day. Then a little bit more time goes by, and it was like, okay, now we have like some end timesy looking stuff going on. Plus the signs in the sky and the day, and this random day, like, 70 or 80 years after Israel becomes a nation. And then now this year and last year has been like, okay, now it's getting to the point where the time is about to like pass by for these prophecies to even be fulfilled. So it's like, it's got to be sometime this year in order for any of this stuff to make sense, because otherwise it's going to be it's either now or 50 years from now, which is like, yeah, right. Like no one can see this thing going on for 50 more years. So everybody's sort of gearing up for it being this year. Well, what I didn't know, like I was not on the bandwagon anymore, because I like once um, the last Feast of Trumpet, not the last one, but the Feast of Trumpets that happened in the last Shemitah cycle or whatever it was like 7 years between this one and that one. Once that came and went, I was like, I don't know, I just don't. It just kind of like waned for me, so I stopped watching. Well, apparently there was a Revelation 12 sign. And what I mean by that is in Revelation 12, there's this whole, I don't know, maybe I can just read it really quick. There's this whole thing that John sees. And I'm talking about up till like maybe 3 months ago. I don't know, 3 months ago. Yeah, for me, a couple of months ago, I would have just told you this was a vision that he saw. So it's like it literally says a great sign appeared in heaven. But the whole book is a vision. So he's like a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars on her head. Okay, so there was a constellation that came and went in 2017 where there was, I don't know the names of the constellations, but it was basically a woman clothed with the sun. The moon was at her feet. The only thing was that she didn't have a crown of 12 stars on her head. There were 12 stars above her, but it was like another constellation. It was like Leo or something. It wasn't literally a crown of 12 stars. But, people were trying to make it fit because, you never know, like, what you're just kind of like thinking that you have to like see the sign. Even though, like, there's just a way that God does things that is like, it's just so funny to think about because sometimes God is like that dad, when you're a teenager. He's just like, what did you expect he was going to do? Like, he's going to drive up to the party and like honk the horn and like, just like, that's him. He's not secret guy. Like, he is, but like, only because you don't understand what's going on. Like, I don't know. So anyway, so that happened. Well, people thought that was going to be it. I didn't know about that. I didn't hear about that. Okay, so this year, the Revelation 12 sign is back. But this time it's the complete sign. Down to the 12 stars are on her head. Boom, 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 right? And then it says she was pregnant and cried out in pain as she was about to give birth. Okay, so, and then it said, then another sign appeared in heaven, an enormous red dragon with 7 heads, 10 horns, and 7 crowns on its heads. Okay, so there's a constellation within this woman constellation. And I don't want to hear anything about how this is divination or whatever. It's like, y'all don't understand nothing. Astrology was not created by the devil, okay? The Bible says that God sets the stars in the sky for signs, times, and all types of stuff for, to tell you what day it is, the seasons, and all that stuff. That's the clock. Clock's in the sky. He been said that, and they were using it a long time ago before the astrology business happened, and changed it all to pagan stuff in the air, and named it all after whoever. So anyway, so there is is it an asteroid? I don't know if it's an asteroid or an actual star. I think it's a star. Now that I'm thinking about it, because it has a name, and it's like got an assigned name and number, and the name of it is Child, and it is at the feet of the woman. Like, and this, I don't know if you know anything about how the astronomical odds of stars and stuff being in the sky aligned in a certain way, but you certainly can't be drawing pictures with them. I mean, if you get one, Jupiter is there and whatever, it's like, that's like a huge, it's like, this only happens once every 10 years. Okay, when you get these all together in the sky at one time, where it's literally making a picture identical to a picture that a dude wrote down 2,000 years ago, and it's on a Jewish feast day, the one that I'm just like, oh my gosh. So, I mean, it's been fun. It's been fun. This whole year's been fun. And there's finding the rapture dates and this and that and whatever. I never would have conceived that it would be this overt. That's why we were looking for every little thing and listening to anybody who got any type of inkling from the Lord about anything, because we were expecting, we were like, yeah, no, no one knows that they're there. Okay, fine. We're supposed to be kept in the dark, but I want to know. Like, can't he give us a hint? Like, I want to be, yeah, people want to be ready. He's going to give us a huge, giganto, flaming, flickering sign. It's not about him not giving us, it's about us being aware, which obviously is always the case. It's like, don't worry about me. I'm gonna let you know. Are you gonna be watching is the main question. So if you're watching, then like, listen to what I'm saying. Like, it's not even like, this is it. Like, the last one where I was like, oh, the new one, this one makes so much sense, blah, blah, blah. This is beyond this oh, this would, hypothetical. He already wrote it down. And do you know what the freaking, the Feast of Trumpets, like, the nickname of this feast is No One Knows the Day or the Hour, because it's based on the lunar calendar, and you have to watch for it could be the day that it's on. You got to watch for between this day and that day to see if the moon, I think the moon has to be full before it's considered the night that the feast starts. So that's literally the nickname for it. So it's funny because everybody was kind of right. Like, everybody was right. People have been saying Feast of Trumpets for a long time. So they're already right. But then, like, for that sign to be in the sky on the day, like, I mean, it's not even about me being sure. Like, that's it. That's it. Like, I just can't believe how he carried us through. And, we were just, we jumped the gun a bunch of times because we're trying to look and we're expecting him to be a certain way. And then we're like, oh, so you're going to be how you always are, which is like super amazing, obvious, and great. And there's a lot of people that are going to be surprised. That ain't me. I don't know why I'm always thinking I'm going to be in this number. Like, I've already said, I don't understand the foolish virgins at all. I'm like, I don't understand I don't get it. So, like, y'all just, I don't get, like, why wouldn't you just, like, I already don't understand. Like, I can't even think that way. So, yeah. I said that I wanted to watch this pot boil, and I did. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh. Wow. So, like, I mean, wow. And it's all this whole month or this whole year, I just had to, like, prep myself for this reality. Because you have to do that. And so, like, the idea that I could be wrong is like, it's not even relevant to this, because it's like beyond. It's beyond. We're beyond being right about it. Like, I, I literally am speechless about it. Like, this is it. I can't even believe it. But I can, but I can't, but I can, but I can. Like, it's blowing my mind at how, like, I was like, why did I think God was gonna leave us out in the lurch like that? Like, we just act like orphans down here. And he's like, I'm gonna pick you up. Like, we're just so like, oh, we gotta watch. We're so poor and needy, whatever. It's like, that's only for the people, that's for who it's for. Like that, so it's just, I don't know, it's already quite rewarding. And nothing's happened yet, but I'm just like, I'm just blown away. And it's just getting more and more, it's incredible. But it's really funny that, like, when that Feast of New Wine thing happened, and, or it came and went, that day came and went, and, like, I saw, like, a lot of the Watchmen, I kind of, like, had I don't know, it was a little bit of a payback moment because they got to experience what some other people had experienced like earlier in that year, because these are the same people that like were chastising anybody that was saying that Jesus was coming soon and get ready and all that stuff, and hearing from the Lord, and it was just like, don't set dates, blah blah blah. And so to watch all of these people set a date because they were very confident in their studies, as they should have been. It was incredibly comprehensive. It was good. It was held up on its own. But I just loved it that they did it all right and they still got it wrong. It was like they're like, no, we're not going to follow the people that say that they're getting it from the Lord. We're going to use our brains. We're going to use our minds. We're going to study this thing. And that's where their confidence was in. And whoops, that wasn't it either. In fact, the person who broke the Revelation 12 sign this year, like, it's just some random guy. And like, it was a mixture because it was like somebody who's studying, who's on Solarium studying the stars. But then, it was like the Spirit told him, look up child. And he was like, child, like, why would that even be anywhere? So, but he did. He looked up child, and there was a constellation named child in the at the woman's feet, or like between, like she was giving birth to it on the day. Oh, and by the way, the day of Feast of Trumpets, when there's also the sun in the sky, is also the day that they're going to go and do this treaty or whatever, sign this agreement at the summit in New York, I think it is. And there's the prophecy about a covenant being strengthened between 10 kings or whatever. I mean, that's such a known thing. And this is all happening on the same day. Wow. So, yeah. So, expect to see some more UFOs in the coming weeks. You're going to see a couple more, signs in the sky, weird signs in the sky. I don't know how exactly it's going to pop off in the natural. A lot of people have been having dreams, seeing, bombs going off and us going up at the bombs and all this stuff. It's scary, but, we've already been told many times not to fear. And if God's telling you not to fear, it's because something that would make you fearful otherwise is about to happen. So, I am prone to fear. So I think that's probably why I've had sort of this long year of just like watching, getting prepared, and just having a lot of drills. So yeah, that was interesting. I had one last. Oh no, I have two things. Maybe I should try to make 3 videos tonight. It's freaking midnight. All right, I'm gonna try it.